Okay, Andy, we're rolling.
Hi, people. You're making a nice heat.
Yes, excellent. We are going to have some alternative heat sources. So we've got a few things going on here. We could have done more, but you know what I forgot, Andy? Forgot the roll of toilet paper. I'll go get it in a minute, okay? So, because that's what we'll do with this one. We're gonna literally squish, Andy.
Straight down.
Squish a roll of toilet paper into here, okay?
Ooh, wow.
So, but we're going to do that later as another alternative heat source. Right now, Andy, let's test out the Cornish heater, which is done with a flower pot. And then just to give you a heads up, we're going to do a couple of flower pot heaters, which I know are pretty popular. And these were kind of hard to find because, of course, you need the clay pot to use them, Andy. And before our big storm, Andy, that was what I did one time after I went and dropped my packages off at the post, is I went and I tried to locate these pots. Because when you're getting like an ice storm and a huge storm and you've heard of it coming, you want to have a way in case you lose heat and energy to set up for alternate sources.
People, storm loud.
Well, yes, summer storms are loud, but this was the winter storm, right?
Winter storm.
Yeah, this was the one, and we got another powdering of snow last night, but the sun is shining bright, so a lot of that has melted off. But remember that good foot or more of snow we got not too long ago, and then we had ice before it. We had some rain and some ice yesterday, but that went away fast. And then last spring we got a major ice storm, and at times, you know, through the history of living here, we've had that ice on the lines, and then you're out of energy for a long time. You're out of heat and everything. So you got to have some backup sources. So this is another one, just to tell you guys real quick before we do the flower pot. These, especially if you get like the Crisco ones, I think they used to even say like 72 hours with a flame on them. Like a can of this, you could just take this off and do yourself a favor, get the off-brand, it's cheaper. But when I went to give somebody some for their cracked hands, best thing for cracked hands. I think we said that before. We've been putting it on Andy. Show them your arm for your eczema. This arm. We still have some eczema, so we're gonna put some more on tonight. We put some on this morning. Dry skin on the back, we rub a bunch of this on. Cracks, we've shown people that, hey, you can put this on. They've used this in the past in the hospitals for people with eczema, cracked skin, dry skin. Works great for that. You don't want to eat it, like I said before, you don't want to consume it, but I keep a couple in my pantry for this reason, where you can just basically tear off your lid and your plastic, and then you can literally stick this in the middle and light it. Maybe cut your wick down a bit, because as you know, if your wick is too long, it's just going to give off smoke, and you want it to have a good burn. Or this size. Now this size will work great in here. You could probably better off with this one. Just fill this, transfer it. Some people will melt it down in the microwave and pour it in, Andy, but honestly, I just scoop it out and throw it in, and this will run you for quite some time. It's a good source of energy. You can fill little jars, like, didn't we have a little one over here, Andy? One of my tiny jars I saved. I like to save these jars, even from, you know, things that you buy at the store, jams and jellies. And these can be filled, and stick a birthday candle in it for your wick. And that way you don't, you know, you can have like hemp or something else on hand, Andy, some of the rope or twine that we can put in for a wick. But I like to just stick that candle in there. And some people will even make them cold first, put them in the fridge first, and then bring them out, and they'll burn longer. I mean, there's all sorts of tricks you can find and explore with. All right, let's get started, Andy, with the small Cornish heater. So this is just a tiny one. It will give you off some heat for a good 4 hours or so. Now, Andy, I went through these. He had a nap today. He doesn't always take a nap, but you just took a nap, right? Otherwise, he would have helped me go through these pennies. These are the copper ones, Andy, as far as they're 95% copper if you get a penny that is prior to 1982. Now, in this batch, I do have a 1982 penny, because 1982 is the year they switched over to like a 97.5% zinc, Andy, like zinc instead of copper. So then those pennies only have 2.5% copper, and you can tell when you put them in your hand. So our 1982, we could tell by its weight, was one of the majority copper penny. So before 1982, you can be guaranteed that it is like about 95% copper, which is great. It's a great conductor, Andy. And this is what my metal does in the workshop, Andy, when I work with it. My copper sheet and my copper items that I work with. Copper's so fun to work with. It will start getting a verdigris, like this green, or it changes the colors, you know, like the rainbow, as it, you know, as the molecules start moving and changing. Okay, so stack them 3 high. Here, you want to stack some for me here, hun? So 1, 2, 3 high. You can just do 3 if you want to, or like 3 for this size. If you're doing a larger size, maybe set up 4 stacks of 3. So you're just going to want to set them up in a stack like these that Sissy set up, Andy, and then give me those. We're going to actually save those out and put them on top. So what we want to do is, these are sort of like your legs, okay? Then make sure you have on hand a pack of, obviously not the battery tea lights, except if you want those for, you know, alternative light sources. But for the heat, you're going to need the tea light candles that you can light, and these are fairly cheap. Even at Meijer, which is one of the only places that still had the clay pots, because so many people had, even at Lowe's, they had bought them out. And there were only the great big mega giant ones, Andy. But at any rate, they had these candles at Meijer, where I got the pots. And they were still under $5 for, well, set of 100. So you get some good burn time out of these, because like I said, probably get a good up to 4 hours out of one little candle. So here's this. You set that in the middle, and I'm going to go get us like a quarter. Well, here we go. This is where we keep our quarters. So by the way, when we sorted these, my daughter helped me. I went ahead and put the pile that was beyond 1982 or beyond in a bag and labeled it. You might as well do that if you're sorting, because maybe your family wants to do the Great American Coin Hunt. And then we keep ours in a jar like this, our coin, that we just dump it if we come in with coin. But grab yourself like this. Will this cover the diameter of that hole there? You put it on and see. This one. Will it cover it? Yep, it will. You want to have something to cover the source or to cover the hole if you're doing the style where you have 2, because you want to create convection or heat. But this time, actually, we may just cover with a saucer to let it radiate. But that's one tip. And then for these, the ones that you've already sorted, maybe do yourself a favor and get a little bag out, label it 1982 and prior, so that you always have those at the ready. And maybe all in a kit, like together, like maybe put inside of the pot, so that it's all with a couple candles all ready to go in case of emergency. Okay, so there's that. Now let's get this on there, Andy. Go ahead and put that one in the middle. Your candle's straightened right directly in the very middle. That's it, hun. You got the idea. Now, once again, if your wick is longer than you think it should be, snip it a bit. That one looks okay. And that's going to just make sure your pennies are arranged so that it will sit on there like some legs, like for a Cornish style heater with your flower pot and saucer. So I think this one needs to be moved back. What do you think? Think it's sitting on there okay, Andy? No. Okay. Boom, boom. Oh, I love the verdigris on that penny, Andy. That's so pretty. Did we get exactly 3 on this side? So you're creating sort of like legs for something. And apparently this is a lot wider than we thought. How's that? Pretty good. Okay, so after we get this lit, Andy, we're going to put carefully some of these pennies up on the top of it too. All right, so there's also an aluminum type of stove that you can do with those pennies if you make sure they're the high content of copper. All right, let me get my torch and we're going to light it. You might want to step back a bit because my torch is big. usually can't find a lighter in my house, so I just use my torch that I'm used to using in the workshop.
Yeah.
I use it to light candles. If I don't want the big flame, I use the toothpick like the other day. Yeah, always stand back. Only Sissy does this, not you, right? Okay, so I'm gonna put the flame down. You can also take a toothpick or a birthday candle or something to transfer the fire, but smartest thing is to just leave it sit there so you don't make a mistake there. Okay, so there we are, right? Now because this is wobbly, I'm going to set this back on the counter, and always keep, if you're working with fire, maybe I'll put this in here, a box of baking soda, which we keep in the bath, you know, one that's for the bathroom for cleaning purposes and one that's for the kitchen, because in case of fire, you just sprinkle this all over. And of course, use rags to put it out or whatever you need, but that is very helpful in taking the fire out, smothering it basically with your baking soda. Okay, so here we go, honey. The little one. There we go. And then put this like, oh, the pennies. You want to help me put the pennies on? So we're just putting them on the top. Just spread them around. That's it. We won't stack them this time. You want to put the last one on? Okay, so it's not heated up yet, but the idea, Andy, is it's getting some of the air coming up from underneath, the cooler air right now. And then once we put in the pennies, the copper pennies help conduct the heat. This goes on the top to help the air. You've got a little bit of air coming up here, but to help that heated air come out and radiate, and it will also radiate from the pot. And right now, since we just started, it's not hot, but the longer we let that burn, it will be hot. And maybe sometime we'll do a video where we let it burn for a while and give updates, but that is not today. So let's show them another style of flower pot heater where you could do, you just need 2 different sizes of diameter, Andy, or like a smaller pot and a bigger pot. So this could be one of your heaters, or if you want it to radiate a little more and be a bit bigger, I got these different sizes because we can also do it this style, or just create, you know, like a couple of these heaters maybe. Oh, it's starting to feel warm already, Andy. Just, I can feel some of the warmth right here. Okay, so there we go. So that's the idea, so that you have the air. We're going to set this on top of something. The air coming up through here. This is the one that will be covered to keep that heat inside and to help it radiate. And then it goes up, that heat up through here, Andy. It will come up through this hole and then also radiate out. All right, so let's get a tin. The best way to do this is a tin, and maybe also cover your space either with your heat bricks or with the cookie tin, or even if you get one of those throwaway to have on hand, those throwaway cookie sheets to have on hand. Okay, so we're going to set this here, and then a tin. Now we have some old tins here, Andy, but I think I got a new one specifically for this because I wanted it to be big enough. I thought we got it. Okay, here we go. I did get an upgraded one in case we did lose energy. What you want to do, Andy, is we'll put these kind of in the middle. We're going to put them right inside the muffin tins, 4 of them. Once again, check your wicks. You might want to cut them, you know, just down a little bit. Just put it right there, right there, honey. We'll do it in these 4 here, like a square of them, and then put that one right there, hun. You got it. Okay, so I'm going to stand all of our wicks up. All right, now what we're going to do is, once these are lighted, the smaller pot that you choose to use, once you've decided which is your smaller that you're going to use, which is your larger, and we'll do the larger setup here. Also, smart to remove this paper. Andy, I probably should have done that earlier, but it's been a very busy day, hasn't it? Andy had some music this morning, right?
Yep. And Keaton.
Yep.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Me too.
And what was the song you had that you kept wanting them to sing the last couple, 2-3 weeks here? He's been with us about a month now, a
Yep.
little over a month. But the last 2 or 3 weeks you kept saying a song. What song was that?
It's Jesus come back.
Jesus is Coming Back. And it's by like Jordan Feliz, I think.
Me.
And at first when he kept saying it, I thought he was talking about maybe some old style song, like he likes country. So I thought maybe it was like an old Oak Ridge Boy song. And then I figured out, no, he listens to the radio a lot and they do Jesus. No, we're not going to put any more in, honey. I mean, you probably could if you had it set up to do 2 different ones or something, but we just need one.
Yeah.
But thank you, honey. So yeah, then I figured out, oh, he's talking about, because then he's like, see, it's on the radio. And it's a song that's currently playing called Jesus is Coming Back. So this will be your setup with this over it. So we'll go ahead and light these, Andy. But we're also going to try to not be dangerous and put this up.
I'll do it on myself.
Oh, you're going to do it yourself, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know if Mom would like that.
No, not like that. No.
Let's make sure we've got this still going. That our flame did not. I think our flame might have gone out, but it is getting warm. Okay. Now, let's come over here. And we're going to light
Whoa,
these.
smell.
Make sure that we
Ooh.
have enough room to get that over there. Yep. Okay. So let's get the lighter, Andy. Here we go.
You can do that?
Well, no.
No.
Let's see, how can we do this?
I mean,
You can help me. I'm going to have to help you hold it though, okay?
Wait.
See what I do. I really turned it off hard this time. Hold on, let me grab it here for a minute. Let me see. Well, sometimes I do that where I get carried away trying to turn it off and making sure there's no gas. So I might have to get my pliers. So you talk to everybody and I'll go get my pliers.
People make a right, wrong, upstorm, bad shape now. Small out part, the can to, and 3 part to make a heat, a high storm, heat, stove heater, make this and make it heat, high heat. Myself?
Yes, honey. It's to make heat,
Heat,
an alternate energy source or an alternative heat source.
my heat for that. And make a pot that, and then for some my stuff, choose my stuff to heat, the can, candle, the heat, high warm, heat, heat that, and make a heat, high warm that, high, high storm, they make a heat, high heat that, and 2 pot, the penny inside of a pot too. Heat, cool off, heat, so this, make this too, make it over a pot, and then 2 penny out now, and pot heat, and warm, high storm, back, ice,
Okay,
and
honey.
that.
Let's do this. Let's just show them because they're not going to get to see the heat. So this goes here, this right here, and you'll want to remove your sticker here before, but if this doesn't come off right away, we'll just leave it since we'll wait. You guys get the idea. So keep this hole covered up. Once those are lit, this goes over the top, and then you will get your radiant heat, almost like a convection oven. Okay, so we got that one done. Now, for this next part, I do have to go get a roll of toilet paper. So,
And then you got this.
oh, careful, honey. Yeah, let's put that one there. All right, this one right here. Okay, now, what we'll do to be safe is I probably should put my fire bricks here. So, let's see. You want to tell them about...
Heat, no.
Not about the heat. You can tell them about something else, honey. You can tell them about what it was like when you either went to the river or you want to tell them about that. Now we'll get the toilet paper. And we're going to get this one set up. Okay, we got this fixed.
To the house and we make ice and water done. And then I'm done. Let's swim home. Just shower done and go back through. And I'm gonna out here. She do have now and Cafe, Damon, Cassie, Cafe, Damon, Listen, Mother, Mia, us, yes. And let's see, food, that's wrong, cold, high wrong, heat, too. You have see me stage too. We got cake and punch and he do. Yeah.
Okay. You ready, honey?
Yeah.
All right, so this toilet paper, you're gonna get, you can even get very cheap toilet paper. And you know, when they had the toilet paper issue about what, a year or two ago? See, I just crush it and then I pull it. You wanna pull it? Sometimes it was hard to find it, as you guys know. So we did, okay, right there. We did kind of stock up. We're just gonna leave that one out. And you could also, though, when you really couldn't find it, I would tell people the Dollar Tree generally still had these 4-packs of Scott's. Now, it doesn't mean that it was the best, but it worked. And only $1. And actually, probably for this project, the cheaper the better. But we're just going to, most people will have at least a roll on hand that you can use for an alternate energy source. And if not, then what you do is you make sure that you just set this up beforehand and seal it. Now, we're not going to take any more time doing all this. Plus, it looks to me like I desperately need something that's not. Most of these rolls are, you know, double, triple. So this one actually would go in this can. We do have a small one, which will take less of your alcohol. So you're gonna wanna use your isopropyl, 91%. It does cost a little more, but this is going to burn more efficiently because of the 91%. You do not wanna use, I recommend the 91. You can also use a 70, but I would not get anything less than like the 70, 71 or so. I would go more for the 90 in the 90s. So here we go. Get yourself, like you can take an old coffee can, but then you won't have the lid. You can clean an old paint can. But when you don't want to deal with all those chemicals to get it clean, because obviously paint is flammable, you're going to want to maybe go just get an empty one, which you can buy at Lowe's for around $5. And then you've got a lid that will seal on it, and you're not worried about any other flammable chemicals. So this will fit your, you know, double rolls that you get. And look at that. You want to put it in there? You just put that in there. Okay. And then I think we are going to go ahead and demonstrate this because I'm going to keep this sealed and on hand for emergencies. So what you do is you fill this with alcohol. And if you don't want to have to use so much alcohol or have so much on hand, then use your smaller can. And you can get this size paint can, also like the quart size, over at a Lowe's. I did not see them at Walmart, but maybe some Walmarts have them. Ours did not. So our Lowe's had them, and I would think that maybe, I don't know if Home Depot does. I don't remember seeing them there. We use a lot of our home stores, building stores for various things, like my tanks. I can get my tanks at Lowe's for my torch. You want to pour some in, hon?
Yeah.
It's strong, it's potent, isn't it? Now sometimes I'll make my own cleaners from these, but I don't necessarily use a 90-some% of isopropyl. but I'll use, 50%, even the cheaper 50% to make a cleaner, like a window and glass cleaner. But honestly, sometimes just a little bit of water in my homemade cleaner will clean those windows and glass very nicely without that smell, because it's pretty potent. Isn't it potent, Andy?
Yep.
Okay, now this did not fill the can up at all. That's what this one is nice for. We've never tested this without it being full. So I'm gonna test it now. So you're gonna stand back, honey. I'm gonna stand back, and doing tests like this are nicer, probably outside or at your workbench. But I've soldered in here before, and I have my handy dandy, okay, you stand way back over there, my baking soda in case there were any issue at all. And be careful if you're lighting because of the flames. Okay, I'm gonna make it a very low. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to transfer for this one, just to be extra safe. There we go, much safer. Well, and there you have it. So that is quite the flame. So be very careful. And you never get to light that, right? You just let Sissy or somebody else, because remember you were talking about how it can come into your face. It can literally come into your face. Okay, now clearly to stop this flame, that's what the lid is nice for. And if you use a coffee can and have a different lid, make sure there's no paper on it. But you're just gonna like slide that over there. Okay, and that will douse your flame without it being unsafe. And then if you're scared of touching this, have your pair of pliers on hand, which I have. I think I'm used to working around, but it is hot. I will say this is very hot right now. So, use an alternate tool to do your lift of that to check that the flame is off, and then let it cool down. Have your mallet on hand to seal it if you're going to keep that on hand for if you have to pull it out for emergencies. And you can see how you have to make sure wherever you light this and whatever you put it on, like this should really have metal under it. Like I said, I'm used to soldering out here, but I even solder on like heat bricks, and you can get those heat bricks to just lay on your counter if you need to. Like from Menards or something. They'll come in a box and they're like pizza bricks or heat bricks, and those are good for this. Or just lay a cookie sheet under it, obviously, or even the throwaway cookie sheets. Oh, probably good thing Nathan didn't see that, huh?
No.
He gets very nervous when I'm out here soldering and doing things with the torch. But clearly, I will say safety first, so always be careful with any alcohol containers sitting around open, because it's not just the liquid, it's the fumes, right? So you want to be very careful, but this really flamed up for us very nicely. And the great thing about these is you could use this size, well, you could still use the big size, but you need to have a way to balance, like with two larger cans. That's why this is nice for the flame if you're cooking, and you can put a skillet on. You saw that flame. It's going to cook an egg, Andy. If I took my cast iron skillet, or any skillet, but I love my cast iron skillet, and just plop that on there, even the little one, if you have it balanced on two larger cans on the side, it's going to allow you to cook an egg. Now, I will tell you one way you can regulate that flame so it's not as insane. Yeah, careful, honey. Always be careful. You want to make sure it's not still lit or anything, because like you said, it can go into your face. Rocks. Put some rocks in there. The more rocks, obviously, the smaller the flame. That will help absorb some of that heat and regulate it, Andy, for the flame. And you could regulate it for cooking. Another way is to use this concept with a smaller can, smaller can inside, dirt around the perimeter that goes between the space of the smaller can and the larger can, dirt. In the center can, you would use cotton balls. You could use cotton balls, and you could pour the alcohol. Now, another way to do this kind of a heater with the cotton balls would be to get the cotton balls all like saturated with Vaseline. And actually that will burn longer, Andy, and more efficiently, and you're not having to mess with the isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so can you think of anything else that we missed? Oh, yeah. All you do, Andy, now this is still a little hot, but it's probably safe enough to get this on, is have your mallet ready, like I said, and then I usually pound a lot harder, but I'm conscientious of my kitchen counters. So on my workbench, you can just give it good wallops around the edge. You want to try? That just seals it. And some people will actually have these ready to go in their car. I never recommend it. I recommend keeping these sealed and with you in a separate container and ready to fill these in emergency. No one's going to die before you get that filled if you've got all your supplies ready. And then of course keep this like even taped to it if you're trying to keep it on hand, because in order to get this off, Andy, this is, you had asked me earlier what this is for, and every time I stain my wood or we use paint or anything, this helps you get that lid right back up. See there? You like that? You want to give it a try? Oh, you're going to pound it on for me?
I'm not get that.
No. You want to try it? There we go. Usually it's sealed on there tight and you have to like, you know, give some leverage all the way around to make it a little more even to get it off. Yeah, don't touch that, it's alcohol. But yeah, the toilet paper's in there. And you can see, it is interesting, you guys, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but you can see that center burn in the center. And of course you always remove the cardboard from the center. What did you think of that? Should we show Kelsey how that lights up? Will she be interested?
In your face.
Well, no, she's got to stand back. Remember, I had you stand back, and then you don't want to light the torch directly over it. That I could see could be very, very dangerous. So have a long stick or one of these or something. Some people will light with the long matches, or well, actually we don't need this in there because the toilet paper works as your wick, and then this works as your fuel source. So this is just an alternate wick instead of rope. If you put your Crisco into one of these, or people like to put them into mason jars so that you can just seal them. This doesn't have a seal on it. Okay. Oh, I know what I was going to tell them. For the smaller can, when you do that, another way to control the flame, well, even in this one, would be tin foil with holes in it. Could regulate that flame so that it's not insane all over the place. But I mean, if you wanted to do like a family campfire type thing and you have safety with your metal on the floor and you're making sure nobody's getting access to the open flame, it's kind of fun for that, you know, to roast a marshmallow or what have you, Andy. Do you like to roast marshmallows?
Yeah, outside.
Outside. Only outside. See, I'm the one that wants to try all this stuff indoors, of course, with safety, but it's so much fun inside.
I can get that back in too.
Yeah, I'll put that back in my, don't worry, I'll put that back out. Actually, I have to keep it in the laundry room because when it's cold like this in the garage, my workspace, I need to keep this not as cold.
Yeah,
otherwise it's harder to heat up and solder.
Big.
Yeah, and this one's about out, so I'll have to go get some more at Lowe's. Okay, we better let them go. I hope we remembered everything, but everything like this has gotten very warm. Okay, thanks guys.
Yeah, guys. Take care. Bye. See you later.